As dawn broke over Tokyo, the city's skyline glowed with anticipation, but the mood quickly shifted as urgent headlines began to flash across global financial terminals. The world's attention was suddenly fixed on Asia, where a new chapter in international trade was unfolding before anyone had finished their morning coffee. China slaps new export controls on Japanese firms. Markets reel. One broadcaster announced, their voice echoing the shock felt in boardrooms and trading floors worldwide. The news ticker scrolled relentlessly, each update more alarming than the last, as investors tried to process the implications. News anchors cut to live feeds from Beijing and Tokyo, their faces tense and voices urgent. The gravity of the situation was clear, as correspondents scrambled to provide updates and context for viewers trying to make sense of the rapidly evolving crisis. Investors and politicians scrambled to grasp the implications of China's sudden move. On trading floors, phones rang off the hook, while in government offices, officials pored over documents, searching for strategies to mitigate the fallout. The sense of urgency was palpable, with every second bringing new developments. Social media exploded with hashtags like #ChinaExportControl and #JapanTradeCrisis. Within minutes, millions of posts dissected the news, speculating on everything from economic impacts to diplomatic retaliation. Influencers, analysts, and ordinary citizens alike joined the conversation, amplifying the sense of uncertainty. Japanese executives rushed into emergency meetings, phones buzzing non-stop as they coordinated responses and tried to reassure stakeholders. The atmosphere in boardrooms was tense, with leaders weighing their options and preparing for possible disruptions to their businesses. In Beijing, China's Commerce Ministry prepared its own press conference to control the narrative. Officials rehearsed statements, aiming to project confidence and justify the new measures to both domestic and international audiences. The world waited to hear China's official explanation. For years, the world watched tensions rise between China and its trading partners, with trade disputes and negotiations dominating headlines. The global economy had grown increasingly interconnected, making every policy shift in one country ripple across continents. Now, with these new restrictions, global supply chains faced a fresh test. At ports, activity slowed as shipments were delayed or rerouted. Factory workers monitored disrupted supply lines, uncertain about the future of their jobs and the stability of international commerce. Analysts and business reporters sought instant commentary, amplifying the uncertainty. Experts debated the potential consequences, from rising prices to shortages of critical goods, while investors watched nervously for signs of market recovery or further decline. Was this the spark for a broader crisis in global trade? As the world watched, questions mounted about the future of international cooperation, economic stability, and the delicate balance of power in the global marketplace. The coming days would reveal whether this was a passing storm or the beginning of a new era in global trade. China's Ministry of Commerce released a formal statement within hours. Officials claimed the new export controls targeted Japanese firms whose products pose national security risks. The statement emphasized protecting Chinese interests and sensitive technologies. China argued these exports could undermine its security or boost rival industries. Officials insisted the move was defensive, not retaliatory, though skepticism remained. They pointed to Japan's recent restrictions on Chinese tech firms as context. China framed the rules as restoring balance and encouraging fair play in global trade. The message? China would act decisively to protect its technological and economic interests. At the heart of China's policy was a newly released and highly detailed list of restricted items, a document that sent ripples through the international business community. This list was not just a bureaucratic formality. It represented a significant shift in how China would interact with its trading partners, especially those with advanced technological capabilities. The new controls zeroed in on companies and industries at the cutting edge of innovation. Advanced machinery, state-of-the-art electronics, and specialty chemicals were singled out, sectors where Japanese firms have long been recognized as global leaders. These industries are the backbone of Japan's export economy, supplying essential components and materials to manufacturers around the world. Among the companies directly named in the policy were Tokyo Electron and Sumitomo Chemical, two giants in the Japanese tech and chemical sectors. Their inclusion underscored the seriousness of the restrictions and the potential impact on Japan's industrial landscape. Now, any exports of high-precision equipment or specialized chemical compounds to these firms would face new hurdles. Shipments that once moved freely would now require special government approval, adding layers of bureaucracy and uncertainty to every transaction. Importantly, this wasn't a sweeping, across-the-board ban. Instead, each export would be subject to a complex, case-by-case review process. Every shipment would be scrutinized, with officials weighing the risks and benefits before granting approval. This approach created a climate of unpredictability for Japanese exporters. The sectors hit hardest by these new controls included semiconductors, advanced optics, and battery technology. These fields are not only crucial for Japan's own technological advancement, but also for the global supply chain, powering everything from consumer electronics to renewable energy solutions. For Japan, these technologies are vital. They form the foundation of high-tech exports such as smartphones, electric vehicles, and next-generation batteries, products that define Japan's reputation for quality and innovation on the world stage. The new export controls threaten to disrupt these carefully balanced supply chains. Delays at ports, inventory shortages, and logistical headaches became immediate concerns, casting a shadow of uncertainty over future business operations. Inside boardrooms and offices across Japan, anxiety ran high. Executives scrambled to assess the impact, vowing to minimize disruption and reassure stakeholders. Yet behind the scenes, the mood was tense, as companies braced for a period of profound change and unpredictability. China's export control system is notoriously strict. Under the new rules, shipments involving listed items or companies must clear a rigorous government review. Exporters submit detailed documentation on end use and destination. A special committee within the Ministry of Commerce assesses security and strategic risks. Only after thorough investigation is a license granted or denied. The process can take weeks, creating uncertainty and leverage for China. Delays or denials can signal displeasure without outright bans. For Japanese firms, this means added costs, paperwork, and risk. Some may shift manufacturing or seek alternative suppliers. The rules force companies to rethink their China strategies. Japan's government responded immediately. Tokyo summoned the Chinese ambassador, demanding explanations. Japan's chief cabinet secretary called the move regrettable and harmful to economic ties. Business groups warned the controls could damage trust and disrupt supply chains. Companies urged diplomatic solutions and government support. Some firms began reviewing their reliance on China and convened crisis meetings. Despite tough rhetoric, officials stressed the need for dialogue. Behind the scenes, diplomatic channels worked overtime to de-escalate tensions. Financial markets reacted with alarm. Shares of affected Japanese companies plunged on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. Semiconductor and chemical stocks across Asia slumped amid fears of tech supply chain disruptions. The yen briefly strengthened as investors sought safety. Chinese competitors' stocks saw modest gains. Global companies with ties to both countries reviewed contingency plans. Analysts warned that even targeted export delays could ripple through global production. The market's message uncertainty shakes confidence and raises fears of further shocks. China and Japan are deeply intertwined economically, with over $300 billion in annual trade flowing between them each year. This immense volume of commerce makes their relationship one of the most significant in Asia, and indeed, the world. The two countries rely on each other for a wide range of goods, from raw materials to high-tech products, creating a complex web of mutual dependence. Japanese firms operate thousands of factories in China, employing millions of local workers and producing everything from automobiles to electronics. These factories not only contribute to China's manufacturing strength, but also allow Japanese companies to remain competitive in the global market by leveraging China's vast labor force and supply chain networks. Meanwhile, Chinese consumers have developed a strong appetite for Japanese goods, ranging from high-quality cars and advanced electronics to popular cosmetics and household products. Japanese brands are often seen as symbols of quality and innovation, making them highly sought after in China's rapidly growing consumer market. This economic relationship has fueled remarkable growth for both nations, but it has also led to friction. especially as geopolitical competition intensifies. As both countries vie for influence in the region, economic cooperation is sometimes overshadowed by political tensions and strategic rivalry. In recent years, Japan has tightened restrictions on technology exports to China, citing national security concerns and the need to protect sensitive industries. In response, China has accelerated efforts to achieve self-reliance in key sectors, investing heavily in domestic innovation and reducing dependence on foreign technology. The latest crackdown on trade and technology is part of a broader shift in power dynamics between the two nations, reflecting changing priorities and a more cautious approach to economic engagement. Despite these challenges, trade between China and Japan has survived numerous past crises, including political disputes and global economic downturns. Their economic ties have proven remarkably resilient, adapting to changing circumstances over the decades. However, today's global supply chains are already under significant strain, with disruptions causing delays, shortages, and uncertainty for businesses and consumers alike. Any escalation in tensions between China and Japan could further complicate these fragile networks. Disruptions in trade between these two economic giants quickly ripple across the world, affecting industries such as electronics, automobiles, and countless others that depend on their cooperation. The interconnectedness of their economies means that even minor disputes can have far-reaching consequences. As a result, the world watches closely whenever China and Japan clash, knowing that the outcome will shape not only their own futures, but also the stability and prosperity of the global economy. Experts offered mixed forecasts after China's announcement. Some saw the move as a bargaining tactic ahead of trade talks. Others warned of a new era of tit-for-tat controls, echoing the US-China trade war. Escalation could disrupt Asia's supply chains and global market confidence. More countries are using export controls to protect key industries and gain leverage. The era of free trade is shifting to managed trade and strategic competition. Still, many believe dialogue and clear rules could help manage disputes and keep trade flowing. Both governments moved quickly to manage the fallout. China reiterated willingness for dialogue and case-by-case license reviews. Japan sent trade delegations to Beijing, seeking exemptions for critical sectors. Companies adapted, diversifying supply chains and seeking alternative suppliers. Industry groups organized webinars to help members navigate new regulations. Multinationals updated risk assessments and accelerated plans to localize production. Lobbying efforts pushed for exemptions and regulatory clarity. The message adaptability and open communication are essential in a turbulent world.